day to everyone. Today we're going to be going over the working with real estate agent disclosure for the seller. So this box right here says important. This form is not a contract. So that's what I want you all to know up front. This is what we present as realtors to our client or prospective client, at that time a customer, when they start talking to us about anything regarding some pertinent information, their job, how much they're making, finances, asking us questions regarding what do you have to do to qualify? Oh, they just hit the lottery, so on and so forth. In school, we call that substantial contact. So that is when they start talking to you about pertinent information that you could actually use against them if you were working for a seller. So you want to stop them at that point in time and let them know about this disclosure. Now they need to initial it, and you can let them know as well. This is not a contract. This is just letting them know or anyone else know that we did go over this information with them and we are explaining to them agency relationship. Okay, this form is not a contract. Signing this disclosure only means that you have received it. In a real estate sales transaction, it is important that you understand whether an agent represents you. Real estate agents are required to, number one, review this form with you at first substantial contact, as well as before asking for or receiving your confidential information. And number two, give you a copy of the form after you sign it. This is for your own protection. Do not share any confidential information with a real estate agent or assume that the agent is acting on your behalf until you have entered into a written agreement with the agent to represent you. Otherwise, the agent can share your confidential information with others. Okay, this note to agent: check all relationship types below that may apply to the seller. So we're going to go through these one at a time. Seller's agency. This is the listing agent. This is the person that has landed a deal with a contract with a owner wanting to sell their property. The agent who gave you this form and the agent's firm must enter into a written listing agreement with you before they begin to market your property for sale. If you sign the listing agreement, the listing firm and its agent will then represent you. The buyer would either be represented by an agent affiliated with a different real estate firm or be unrepresented. Okay, so again, this is saying that the seller's agent, the agency is saying that they have exclusively hired myself and my firm to represent them to sell their home. Now we're on dual agency. So dual agency will occur if your listing firm has a buyer client who wants to purchase your property. If you agree in a written agency agreement, the real estate firm and any agent with the same firm company would be permitted to represent you and the buyer at the same time. A dual agent's loyalty would be divided between you and the buyer, but the firm and its agent must treat you and the buyer fairly and equally and cannot help you gain an advantage over the other party. So this dual agency is when you have a realtor that is representing both parties, the buyer's agent and the seller's agent. Now we're moving right along here to designated dual agency. So designated dual agency is if you agree in writing in a written agency agreement, the real estate firm would represent both you and the buyer, but the firm would designate one agent to represent you and a different agent to represent the buyer. Each designated agent will be loyal only to their client. So that's when you are at my firm, we will assign and designate a buyer, a realtor to represent the buyer side, and a realtor to represent the seller side, but it's in the same firm. So we call that designated dual agency. It's still dual agency, but it's a little bit less sticky because you still have two different people representing the parties, but they're in the same firm, but they still aren't, they're not supposed to talk about that property or those buyers and sellers, those clients with one another, even though they are in the same firm. Now, with that being said, if another realtor in the firm knows anything pertinent information has been shared with them, they cannot be the opposite cross sale in this transaction. We would have to find someone else that has no knowledge of anything about this actual client or anything, any pertinent information about them within the firm. So now we're at the buyer agent working with an unrepresented seller. So this is your FSBOs, what you might hear the term for sale by owner. The agent who gave you this form will not be representing you and has no loyalty to you. The agent will represent only the buyer. Do not share any confidential information with this agent. So that's if I was to run into a FSBO and I'm just letting them know up front, hey, don't tell me anything about this property. I do have an agent. Don't tell me any pertinent information about anything about yourself or your motivations or anything like that, because I do have a client that's possibly interested in this property, and I will be able to share with them your confidential information because I do not represent you. I represent the buyer. So this is a note to the seller. And y'all, please excuse my dog. I have two pets here. Ace is a pit bull terrier and Mason is my Rottweiler. Ace, he's the youngest one, and he is very vocal. So he sees something outside right now that he's trying to get into, and he's all in my video right now. So please excuse Ace. So again, back to this disclosure. Note to seller. For more information on agents' duty and services, refer to the North Carolina Real Estate Commission's question and answers on working with real estate agents brochure on the ncrec.gov publications Q&A brochure, or ask an agent for a copy of it. So this is what we would do. We would just explain to you who we are, all the agency relationships, and how we will represent you as our client. And then we will have the seller sign this, print their name, if there's two parties involved. And then we will also put our name here and our license number and our firm. And that's pretty much it with the working with real estate disclosure for sellers. So let's try to switch back over here and see if I could find the one for the buyers. So here we are with the buyers, working with real estate agents disclosure for buyers. So this form is not a contract. Signing this disclosure only means that you have received it. In a real estate sales transaction, it is important that you understand whether an agent represents you. The real estate agents are required to, number one, review this form with you at first substantial contact and before asking for or receiving your confidential information. And number two, give you a copy of it for after you sign it. This is for your own protection. Do not share any confidential information with a real estate agent or assume that that agent is acting on your behalf until you have entered into an agreement with the agent to represent you. Otherwise, the agent can share your confidential information with others. So this is what this first box was talking about. Again, nothing different from the sellers so far. My highlighter is running from me. Okay, and let's get to this note. Note to agent, check all relationship types below that may apply to this buyer. And so the buyer agency, if you agree, the agent who gave you this form and the agent's firm would represent you as a buyer agent and be loyal to you. You may begin with an oral agreement, but your agent must enter into a written buyer agency agreement with you before making a written offer or oral offer for you. The seller would either be represented by an agent affiliated with a different real estate firm or be unrepresented. So this is a buyer's agency. When someone is representing you as a buyer's agent, you are a buyer client looking to purchase a home. Next up is dual agency. Dual agency will occur if you purchase a property listed by the firm that represents you. If you agree, the real estate firm and any agent with the same firm company would be permitted to represent you and the seller at the same time. A dual agency loyalty would be divided between you and the seller, but the firm and its agent must treat you and the seller fairly and equally and cannot help you gain an advantage over the other party. So that's when you have a realtor that's representing both parties. They're representing the seller and the buyer. So we're on designated dual agency. So if you agree, the real estate firm would represent both you and the seller, but the firm would designate one agent to represent you and a different agent to represent the seller. Each designated agent will be loyal only to their client. So that's when we have an agent. We have two agents in our firm. One is going to represent the seller and one is going to represent the buyer, but they're in the same firm. So that's still a dual agency situation, but it's designated dual agency. And then to add to that, if someone in that firm, if the other agent in that firm knows a little bit about this situation, about the client, about the anything about pertinent information regarding that client, then that agent could not represent the opposite side. So any agreement between you and an agent that permits dual agency must be put in writing no later than the time you make an offer to purchase. Okay, and so now we're under this section, which is the unrepresented client. Okay, the unrepresented buyer, seller, sub-agent. The agent who gave you this form may assist you in your purchase, but will not be representing you and has no loyalty to you. The agent will represent the seller. Do not share any confidential information with this agent. So this is a seller's sub-agent. This is a buyer that is unrepresented. So you see these situations in like parade of homes and open houses when you go into this beautiful renovated home and it's decorated and you have this beautiful agent in there and they're so informative. They're giving you brochures. They're telling you about the home and all this good stuff. Please know that that person that is in that home giving you that tour and giving you all the information about that property, that seller, that person works for the seller. So if you are a buyer looking to purchase and you was going into one of these properties, don't share any of your personal or confidential information with this person because they can use that against you if it comes down to you wanting to purchase one of their properties or even that particular home. So just understand that person is helpful as they are. You don't need to tell them anything that's confidential about your finances, where you work, or anything like that to them because they can use that against you when it comes down to the negotiation when you submit an offer. So we have a note to the buyer. Okay, for more information on an agent's duty and services, refer to the North Carolina Real Estate Commission's question and answers on real estate, working with real estate agents brochure at ncrec.gov. Publications, Q&A brochures, or ask an agent for a copy of it. So this is the agency relationship. This is what we need to share with you all so you would know, if you're unrepresented, if you are a FSBO, if you are looking to be represented by my firm, myself, and another person in my firm because you're interested in one of our homes. This is giving you an explanation. It is not a contract. So right here, we would need your signature. If it's 2 buyers, we would need you to print and sign here. And then I would also sign and put my license number and my firm right here.